Well, it appears that the indictment jamboree continues unabated, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. The Jack Smith indictment jamboree continues unabated without any hesitancy whatsoever. It absolutely begins unabated without any surcease, nothing. And the best part about it is that Trump now is actually convincing people more than ever that this is insanity, that this is beyond insanity. This doesn't make any sense anymore. Enough. Now they're going after Manolo and Yard Boys, and what is happening? This is nuts. Now I don't want to read too much into this. I don't want to pretend that I know more than I do. But methinks that Mr. Trump has somehow gotten to the core, to the insidiousness, to the I don't know what you want to call it, to the lunacy of what is happening. Do you understand? Can you believe what is happening? Do you find yourself like I do, wondering, okay, enough? If you're watching right now, or if you're watching later, if you're whatever your particular mode of watching is, I want to hear from you. Do you think this has now hit critical mass, and that the chain reaction of negativity is almost like the Oppenheimer movie? It's just nuts. Who in their right mind thinks this makes sense? Who in their right mind makes sense? Who? This is nuts. I could see before. I could honestly see it. You don't understand me. I understand what people are trying to do. I get it. I understand it. I understand how things are. This is a part of what I'm trying to impart upon you, my dear friend. It's called realism, to understand the way it works. Irrespective of what you think, irrespective. That's right, Nancy Rosa. Hit that like button. Hit the like button. Hit it. You know the routine. I hate when I watch a new video and the first thing they do is tell me to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I don't even know who you are. You might have some new folks here. But let me just tell you something. And I'm going to appear all over the place, but I'm not today because my mind is going crazy. Do you want to be an activist? Do you want to be an activist, or do you want to win elections? Let me give you a story. One time I was a part of an Air America cruise, and I was on stage with Mark Green, who was once the public advocate of New York, Senator Gary Hart, some others, and Rachel Maddow. And Rachel Maddow, I never forget, she insisted upon sitting on this stage cross-legged. We're all on chairs, but she had to sit kind of kumbaya style, like, I'm cool. I'm wearing, railroad dungarees and chucks, and I'm sitting cross-legged, where everybody else, like an adult, is sitting in a chair. It was the weirdest thing. So they were going around the room, and all of a sudden, I forget who it was. Somebody said, or somebody suggested, gay rights, gay rights. That Obama should come out in favor of gay rights and make his platform for gay rights. And Gary Hart said, "Are you out of your mind? Are you crazy?" Now this is the most liberal group in. He goes, "This doesn't work politically. You want to win an election? Do you want to win an election? What is the matter with you? What are you talking about? You want to win an election? Coming out of the but with gay right? No. And she looked because activism and politics are two things. This idea, they're jumping on Bobby Kennedy because he is apparently aligning with Israel. And you can't do that because the progressives and others are saying, no, illegal is Israel's an apartheid state and this and that. And the Israeli lobby is like, are you nuts? In an election, a presidential election? What are you talking about? Everybody now is an expert in Israel. Where were you during the troubles with Ireland? Do you know that there is no Israel lobby? Have you heard what's going on in Israel? Read Haaretz. Read the anti-Bibi aspects of this. There are people against settlements, against I love these people who just wade into a subject. It's like they're shopping and they go, I'll take one of these, throw them into the basket, and then just accept it as your own. Now, what Jack Smith and others are realizing, again, there's politics and then there's reality. The politics, you're going to hand this to Trump. People are saying to me, look, I thought Trump was kind of full of crap before when he was, saying all this stuff about deranged, but I think he's right now. A superseding indictment is like say, oh, and one more thing. Oh, here's another idea. Oh, here's another charge. Now, normally a superseding indictment is where somebody like in a very technical case where you could say, we just learned something else. This is like nitpicking. This is like, oh yeah, and your mother's fat. I said that last argument. This is stupid. This is stupid. Next, by voting yes or no, and universally yes is the number one, two is the number is no, two is the number no, two is the number no. I think there was a Nilsson song. Two is the number. Anyway, do you believe that this was orchestrated in order to distract, to dispel? And I know my friend Liz, who is watching this, the great Liz of the planet Solak, she agrees with me that this is a perfectly timed distraction, obfuscation, kind of like the rodeo clown, like, don't look here, look over here. How many of you believe this? How many of you believe absolutely that what this is a chance to just deter? Because right now, the Democratic Party is freaking out because of this Hunter business, because of old man. How many of you believe that? Yes. 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 Look at the numbers. Please read this. Your thoughts and comments. Yes. Andy, Raul, Diane, yes. This is it. And Josh Hawley, who couldn't lure me out of a burning building, who has the personality of a wet flatus, even he said it perfectly. This is obvious. Come on. This is at critical mass. We've said, okay, now it's ridiculous. Now it's ridiculous. It's like you've heard of, have you ever heard, you walk into an argument and an argument starts off kind of making sense. Where you say, you know what? You're at a, I don't know, someplace, and maybe there's a wife who's yelling at her husband because he's I don't know, he's looking at somebody or whatever it is. He'd say, you know what? Maybe she's got a point. And then the next thing you know, she's throwing things and go, no, wait a minute, okay, now you've gone too far. Now you're just some drunk broad and you're acting nuts. That's the way this appears. That's precisely the way this appears. A superseding indictment over what? And wait till you get a load of these two guys. What Trump should say right now is, listen, leave these folks off the hook, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get their balls in a vice, squeeze them so that their heads and hearts will follow, so that they'll flip against me. I know what they're doing. Look, leave them alone. They're innocent. These people who work for Trump. He goes, yes, Mr. Trump, sure, whatever you say. Hey, Arturo, yeah, can we turn this thing off? Yes, Mr. Trump, of course. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm sure. You betcha. Whatever you say, big guy, you know that's what happens. You know it. Oh, come on. And tell them, look, go after me. Act magnanimous. Go after me. Leave these people. They've got families. They're not doing anything. Look, you want to target me? That's okay. But come on. Have you no mercy? Remember, who was it, Welch? At the Armin McCarthy hearings, at long last, have you no decency, Mr. McCarthy? Have you no decency? You have no idea what this is. Politically, this is the most stupid thing in the world. And the DNC should be picking up the phone and say, would you tell this Jack Smith to cut this out? What are you doing? What are you doing? He's looking more invincible. Even the people who hate Trump, and this is good news for you, stand up and applaud, run around the room 3 times. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're winning this thing. You have no idea how things are going great right now. And believe me when I tell you this, I am not the usual person who says, hey, things are going great. Normally, things are going lousy. But that's neither here nor there. These are great times right now. And politically, it never got even better than this. This is fabulous. This is incredible. This is just incredible. A wonderful time. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm not one, you know me. You get very upset with me sometimes because I'm not that much of a cheerleader. Sometimes I'm saying, don't get so excited. Don't get so excited. Take it easy. This is no big deal. This is a big deal. Celebrate now. By the way, brand new video of Mrs. L and me last night. This was a beaut. Make sure you watch this one. Watch her. Oh my God, we're the best. Who was that team, honey, on OR? What was their name? The Fitzgeralds. We're the Fitzgeralds of our time. Incredible. Okay, we'll get back to that in a moment. I'm going to bring you some other things. First, next, rather, may I say something to you? And let me see if I can. Thank you. Oh, Trump speaks in Iowa tonight. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. I'm going to be watching this. Thank you, Mary Fernandez. Now, listen carefully. When I was a kid, well, not really a kid, I was in college, but I loved how sometimes there are jokes that we have that are terrible. Gallows humor, terrible jokes. I'm not even going to mention the name of them, but if you're of my generation, there are certain types of jokes. Some that were horrible. Some that today would get you indicted. Sexist, racist, and the reason why sometimes these jokes really aren't that funny is because they're so terrible and you don't want to. Now, that's okay for us. Some people have made this a career. There are some times when you make fun of people in public, and maybe because you get older, maybe because we've seen parents, but when you make fun of people with strokes and ischemic attacks, like Mitch McConnell, maybe Biden. I don't care about Biden. Biden is so despicable. I don't care if I have not a gram, a dram, an ort, an ounce, an atom of respect for that man. But that's a different story. But Mitch McConnell apparently went through some kind of, I don't know if it was a stroke, but it looked like some kind of a neurologic event, an ischemic, blood flow, something where he just froze rather. There's incredible forms of epilepsy. Have you ever seen? They don't say grand mal. That's tonic clonic. There's all these forms of basically epileptic of seizing events. It's fascinating, up to and including what appears to be almost like laughing or crying. Now that may be interesting, but if that's somebody you love, it's not interesting. It's tragic and it's scary. Remember that woman one time? She was on TV. She was a sports announcer or something, and she just started speaking gibberish. It was frightening. Absolutely frightening. By the way, myoclonic seizures, simple partial seizures, generalized tonic-clonic seizures, epidemiol, uh, atonic, febrile. There, it's so interesting. Not funny, not funny, but interesting how the brain can short circuit and how it can result in a variety of things. Remember, neurology, psychiatry, hardware, software, big diff. So anyway, if you don't like Mitch McConnell, that's fine. But mocking him, I mean, in passing, I can understand it. But to focus on it, I don't understand it. I mean, I don't understand how we've lost. We are so low rent, so low class, so cheap, so vile and base. What? People are now beating each other in movie theaters. Beating. Mm-hmm. Well, we saw the guy the other day who was people who are beating each other in movie theaters who have assigned seating. Don't forget what happened in Tampa or Hillsborough County. There was a guy one time who had who it was the off-duty cop who told somebody a little similar situation. He told the guy in front of him, he says, "Hey, would you do me a favor? Would you put your phone away because the light of he was texting?" And he said, "The movie hasn't started." He said, "I don't care whether it started or not. Would you please stop?" Anyway, they got into a verbal kerfuffle, and this retired cop pulled out a gun and bang, killed him. Stand your ground, acquitted. So be careful. I hope people learn this. This is the one thing that an armed society will guarantee. Don't mess with people. You don't know who they are. You don't know who they are. You don't know whether they're armed. You just leave people alone. I know that's a bit of a. All right, that's fine. Next, I want to say something about Sinead O'Connor. It's funny. We don't know cause of death. I'm always interested in cause of death. And of course, whatever her cause of death, people say, vaccines, vaccines. No matter what it is, vaccines. And when did you have this vaccine? 2 years ago, but that's okay. Okay. I don't want to get into that, but everybody now is an expert. It goes, anybody who dies. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a physician. He says, talk to anybody in an emergency ED, emergency department, ER. Ask them about all of a sudden death. Ask them. Because all of a sudden, like anything else, all of a sudden people, I've got a friend of mine who is an expert in mRNA. He thinks mRNA, messenger RNA, is only for vaccines. I mean, there's this instant expertise. Instant. Middle East experts. I heard somebody that they talk about 9/11. I said, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't even know where to go. They just, they put their toe in the water and they're an expert. It's similar to when O.J. Simpson was on trial. When all of a sudden people became a blood splatter expert overnight. It's like, what are you doing? Anyway. So Sinead O'Connor had a troubled life. And she's not what you think. She's not what you think. And the ripping up the Pope's picture on SNL, that was because of the abuse in the church, right? She did not necessarily make it, but it was JP Deuce, and people loved him. And people do not. She was trying to make some statement about abuse in the church. And let me tell you something about the Catholic Church when it comes to this. They were absolutely pathetic. The way they dealt with priests who were known to be abusing children. Known. Somebody made the joke. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't funny in the least, but somebody suggested that it was similar, akin, if you will, to I guess. They said that years ago, whenever there was an animal, excuse me, whenever there was a um, what's the word, at SeaWorld, whenever there was any kind of a of an orca or some type of a cetacean that would act out of control or hurt somebody, they would just move it. So all of a sudden, Nashville, see, hey, we're getting a new whale. Why? I don't know. That's interesting. That usually meant something happened, so they would kind of do this. So anyway, so Sinead O'Connor basically did this and made her protest, and it wasn't just this gratuitous anti-Catholic stuff. She knew what she was talking about. She knew what she was. Okay, she was absolutely right. And one of the things she did was, remember when Miley Cyrus was doing her wrecking ball thing, hot video, in the nude. They asked Miley Cyrus, "Where did you get this inspiration, or why did you do it?" And she says, "It was because of Sinead O'Connor. Nothing compares to you," and blah blah blah. So Sinead O'Connor basically wrote her back and said, "Listen, lovingly, please do me a favor. Do not let them sexualize you. Do not let them in any way demean your talent by blah 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 blah." So she writes this thing back and says, basically, Sinead O'Connor's crazy, some old bat or whatever. Okay. As soon as somebody is called crazy, as soon as somebody finds themselves out of the public spotlight, they're just immediately dropped. They don't exist anymore. They're of no use to anybody. She was a great talent, a tremendous talent, absolutely, positively. A great talent, very, very troubled, very, very sad, very, very sad. And I don't know what. Well, childhood abuse, yes. Oh, and it's funny how all of a sudden, for years, Mrs. L was saying, trafficking children, and people were saying, oh, okay, we know about that. No, you don't know about that. Well, now all of a sudden it's big. And now all of a sudden, all of a sudden, okay. But as long as people understand these things. Oh, and by the way, too, there's something I've got to tell you. As you can probably see, I think behind me, the only picture I have that I publicly display very proudly, the picture of me with George. Well, I should say, famous people, is me with George Jones. George Jones, country music issues. And this Jason Aldean, I'm getting so tired of this. I ain't gonna do that in my town. You come down to my town and we're gonna get that gun and show you on the town, on right out of town. I mean, okay, all right, I got it. You're not gonna do a George Floyd in his town because bad things will happen to you. I got it. I understand it. Okay. That to me bastardizes country music. It's corn pone. I look. You do whatever. It's a free country. That ain't country music. That's just. And there are people who love this stuff. That's these other people too, like Toby Keith and others who do things. Hey, it's time to get drunk, And okay, fine. We've always had these folks. Sparky says Irish often have melancholy in their blood. Little overgeneralized, Sparky, little overgeneralized, because people will always say to you, and thank you for that, people will say, no, it's always a hoody. The way we think of the Irish, and it's so funny because you've never heard these Irish experts like we have Israel and Palestine experts. But when it came to the troubles then, not so sure about that. Basque, but well, I don't know about that. No other conflict but that. Next, I don't know where the Biden, the Elon Musk thing is going, but I was talking to somebody, young person, said, "What do you like?" He said, "Well, I really like what's going on with Elon Musk." I said, "Well, what's going on with Elon Musk?" Well, Elon Musk. Well, what about Elon Musk? What is Elon Musk doing? What is it? I'm sorry, he changed it to X. Okay. What is it? I'm sorry. What does this mean? Where is the big deal with this? Can somebody tell me? Am I missing something? What am I missing? Why is this important? Why is this important? Explain this to me. I don't get it. Can you help me with this? What am I missing here? Why is this a story? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it's one of those things I wanted to ask you because I just don't get it. Now, let me go back and say this again to you. Back to the Bidens and back to the basics of love. Who's that? Lukenbach, Texas. Let's go to Lukenbach, Texas with Waylon and Willie and the boys. The successful life we're living's got us feuding like the Hatfields and McCoys. The Newberry's train songs and blue eyes crying in the rain. Out in Lukenbach, Texas. Ain't nobody feeling no pain. Oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Let's go back and recap regarding the Bidens. Number one, it is collapsing. It is collapsing. Do you hear what I'm saying? It is collapsing. It is all collapsing. I am telling you. It is collapsing before our very eyes, and it couldn't happen at a better time. What has happened regarding Hunter finally pushed people to the point where people are saying, you know what, this has gone too far. This has gone too far. Do you understand this? It's gone too far. And people have realized that this is something that is one of those, I don't know what the story is or why, but it's one of those things that people have been looking at and saying, you know what, I don't bother. I don't understand this. And what's happened for the longest time is very simply this. And this is important. This is important to note. Sometimes with people and with the American public, you gotta keep hitting them. You got to keep hitting them. You got to keep hitting them. You got to keep wagging them away. You got to keep hitting them. They come around eventually. And once they see that something is unfair or something is unwarranted or something is excessive, then they pay attention. And what they are seeing, believe it or not, is that involving Hunter Biden. And what happened yesterday, what happened before the court is so incredible. So monumentally incredible. I cannot say this again to you, dear friend. I cannot say this again to you. I cannot put this into perspective. He went to court thinking, I'm going to be what's the word? I'm going to walk in. I'm going to just traipse in. I'm just going to come out of nowhere. And I'm going to be a part of this. I'm going to be a part of this. And because I'm Hunter Biden. You don't understand this. I'm Hunter Biden and you're not. I'm Joe Biden's son. I'm the Dauphin. I'm the blessed one. I'm the chosen one. I don't have to worry about rules. I have hookers. Where the women are, he treats women like cattle, like chattel. He treats these people like they are just there for his own vicious, disgusting, horrid use or what. I don't know what it is. Paying for it. I mean, you've got Secret Service. These stories, remember the Chateau Marmont? I mean, he is just, and God knows what's on that laptop. You know, these laptops, the Wiener laptop, this laptop. And what happened is, so that you know this, the judge recognized that what they were trying to do was basically provide for and to him immunity from any and all future crimes, no matter what. And the judge said, no. No. Do you understand that? The judge said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to permit this. We're not going to allow this. We're not going to let any of this happen. None of this. It's not going to happen. Go back, talk it over, think it over, discuss this, and move on. You're not going to do this here. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. I loved it. I loved it beyond anything you can imagine. I loved it like you cannot believe. I loved it. It was wonderful. It was beauteous. And both sides were pretending that they didn't know anything about it. Both sides were pretending that, well, I guess this is well, what are we going to do? Well, and Hunter's looking around like, hey guys, as people say, hey guys, what's going on here? And they're saying, Hunter, you don't get it, do you? You don't get it. You don't see what's happening here. This is something which doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. This is the most incredible thing in the world. Hunter, we don't know how to explain this to you anymore. But it's over. You were supposed to be treated like some type of a prince, and you're not. It's done. We don't know what to do right now because the Burisma, and that may mean a couple of things. Who knows? Because reading into this, another story. Does that mean that finally, thank God, maybe that Merrick Garland's been told, listen, we got to do something now. We got the election coming up. You got it? Okay, I got it. We can't give him a pass anymore. I got it. We got to make sure. I got it. So whatever you do the right thing. Don't just let this go. You act on it. Act like it's anybody else. And I'm going to say this again for the millionth time, and this is important. This is critical. And this is something which is, I cannot say this enough. Bobby Kennedy Jr. is still, and by the way, he is not perfect. I'm not suggesting. I don't know why people have to always say that. I don't know when people say, I don't agree with everything he's done. Why do people say, do you know anybody who you've agreed with 100%? No, of course not. I don't. But what I'm saying to you is very simply this. My dream is to go before the American people and say, I don't know where you've been, but it's a new world. These people think there's AM and FM. They're still living in a world right now. I know people stuck in this world of radio. Remember that legislation that said we're gonna have AM radios in cars? What legislation for AM radios? What about an 8-track? What was that all about? That was just wow. And I love radio, loved AM radio, but not mandated. But they live in a world of AM and FM. And then there are people who live in the world of CNN and newspapers and Rush Limbaugh and Ronald Reagan and Fox News. They see Fox News as still being... Who saw the interview with Hannity and RFK? Did you see? RFK is not the smoothest. He's very smart, but he's not a yuckster. He's not compelling. He's not somebody who... But whatever it is, it works. Did you see that? And what word do you think Hannity understood what happened? Do you think he had any clue as to what happened? This is his show. It's an anachronism. It doesn't apply anymore. He's living in a world that I don't understand. And what I want to tell the rest of the people is stop thinking Democrat and Republican. Stop thinking AM and FM, UHF, VHF. Remember that, kids? How many times have you explained to people? How many times have you tried to explain this idea of what YouTube is? Well, where do you get your news? Well, I watch this show. What? I like the show. I catch it as much as I can. I think it's a morning show, I guess, on The Hill. This one, too. I like the balance. I just like the way it works. I'm trying to explain to somebody, what channel is it on? What channel is it on? No, it's on YouTube. What? It's you get it on YouTube, you get what? There are people who still look at streaming as though this is baby monitor frequencies or something. I don't get it. It's a different world. And that's why what I want to tell the rest of the people, I want to tell people, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Well, we can still say, ladies and gentlemen, this is a new form of politics. Bobby Kennedy, and even though I'm not a big fan of his, it goes whatever that means. I don't know if I like him, which has no basis. Do I like these? Do you like Rand Paul? Do you like? I don't even know what that means. I don't know these people, and there are things about them I don't particularly care for. But I don't care. I don't need another friend. But Tucker Carlson represents a break from this monolithic right-wing 1985 Rush Limbaugh world of, or actually 88, 89. This thing that this old-fashioned fuddy-duddy, I don't know what it is. And God bless the people, God bless the boys who made the noise on 16th Avenue. You got that one, right? God bless the boys. Anyway. It's a new world. There are new issues. I try my best to talk to young people. I'm saying, where are you getting this news from? And I am because I don't think they get anything. Not only do they not have the news, but they don't even have any historical perspective. And I do this a lot. I've got friends of the family, we got relatives, we got people, and I'm trying to tell the young folks, what is your concern? Well, there's China and Russia. I said, what about it? They're thinking about nukes. I said, you think there's nukes? You think there's going to be a nuke here? What, Russia's going to lob a nuke? Well, I'm glad you're thinking about it, but why would you think that's true? Why do you think that's true? Tell me. Why do you think there would be a nuke? They have no idea. I said, do you understand how the position of the world works? No. Do you know who's in charge? No. Do you know what BRICS are? BRICS. BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. A new configuration of the world. No. Do you understand what is happening regarding, when I heard Tim Scott, oh, you love this Tim Scott? What a jadrul. With this obligatory nonsense about Russia. Let me tell you something. Obligatory nonsense. And I'm going to say one more thing about this. This is Bobby Kennedy and Israel and vaccines and all of that. I've told you this a million times. Don't let anybody decide for you what your message is going to be. Don't let anybody decide for you what your message is going to be. Don't. You decide. You decide what the message is going to be. You decide. Don't stop what you're doing because somebody says, excuse me, yes, the Assyrian contingent doesn't like what you, the who? The Assyrian. What did I say? I have to stop. Yes, you have to stop and you have to apologize to the Babylonians now because what? And if you start doing this, if this is the thing that you start doing and end up doing, I am telling you, you're wasting your time. Do you understand this? You're wasting your time. So anyway, it's moot at this point. So what I want to say to the young people right now, it's not left and right, it's not up and down, it's not blue and red and all that nonsense. It's not even purple. It's another thing too. We look at things issue by issue by issue, not as a conservative, not as a Republican, not as a Democrat, not as a progressive. Forget the names. Look at this. Pick it. Pick the story. You want to talk about abortion rights? Go ahead. You want to talk about crime? Go ahead. You want to talk about what? Nobody's talking about healthcare anymore. Nobody's talking about healthcare. What about people years ago who talked about things like the ocean? Remember that? Who remembers Jacques Cousteau and Calypso and and all these, worrying about overfishing. Anybody talk about that? The environment? No. What is the issue that matters to you? Climate change? Okay, fine. What do you want to talk about? You know what's going to happen when smart technology allows governments and companies to turn your air conditioning off? Are you ready for social credit scores? Are you ready for a surveillance, the likes of which you've never seen before? I mean, what is it that people want to really talk about? What is it that bothers them? We need to discuss this without a left-right paradigm focus, without this conservative liberal stuff, which doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what that means. And remember something. Do you want to win an election, or do you want to just argue policy? Rachel Maddow in this story was arguing policy, not politics, not polity, not realpolitik, but policy. There are things that I believe and I think are terrific, and I find fascinating, that I would never, ever, 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 ever say if I were running for office. Never, under any circumstance. I wouldn't hit people with geoengineering right away. I wouldn't hit them with questions about what you might consider to be a conspiracy theory. I wouldn't do that. I would keep it very, very simple. I don't want to scare people. I want to give them 3 issues max, and that's it. And depending upon polling and depending upon the particular area of the country and what demographic cares about what, that's what I want to discuss. That's what I want to discuss. Because what we're talking about a lot of time right now is great, but it's crap. It's just fun. Somebody was saying, was Bronny vaccinated? You want to do this? You want to do this? This is great talk. Well, if he was vaccinated, because I'm an expert now on vaccination. And anybody who has a problem, I'm going to say it's a vaccine. That's what people are saying. Now, I do think it's interesting. I think it's worth mentioning, but it's like a parlor game. Do you think anybody in their right mind should bring this up on the campaign trail? Absolutely not. What are you, nuts? Absolutely not. Never, ever, 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 ever. Why? Because people are afraid of SARS-CoV-2. They're afraid of it again. They want a politician, a president, who is going to be there so that the next time the next batch of vaccines need to go out, they're there. Now, let me tell you something. Whoever runs against Bobby Kennedy or debates him is going to say, you better be careful, my friends, because the next time there's any kind of a problem, the next time there's any form of situation where there's another epidemic or pandemic or anything along those lines, the next time you need a president to act decisively and to move in specifically for whatever it's worth, if that's true, you better be careful with this Bobby Kennedy guy, because he's an anti-vaxxer, which will make Bobby Kennedy stop and say, no, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Well, you sure could have fooled me, because I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to be there to help you, and I'm going to be there, which is what Trump did. People are actually getting mad at Trump because of warp speed. It's like, do you want to win an election or not? I don't care. I know what I'm talking about because these things cause my mRNA. Okay, fine. You're not going to be on my political committee. I've told you before, I am personally against the death penalty. You think I would say that if I was running for office? Hell no. Hell no. To give my opponent somebody he's weak on crime? What difference does my being against the death penalty make if I'm running for president? I don't have any say in that. What are you talking about? You got to be careful. But I know these big shots, big mouths, who will sit there and say, well, that's what I want to talk about because that's the way. Great. You want to talk about, you want to go Alex Jones and gay frogs? No way. You want to talk about David Icke and his reptilian stuff on the campaign trail? No. What is the matter with you? You've got to understand, you've got a very, very limited frame, and you cannot stray beyond that. They will destroy you. You got to pick 3 topics that are not going to get you killed, and you stick with them. And you've got to realize there are people who don't know anything today. Bobby Kennedy is perfect for that. Another thing, you got to remember something. There's something called momentum. And momentum is important because people will come together in a very strange way. They will come together out of nowhere, and they will find themselves in the position. This is very important. They will find the position much like, how do we say this? Much like people have been in, how do we say this? How do we say this? Well, let me rephrase it. There's a lot of well-intended, wonderful folks who say these things. I've got a dear friend of mine. She puts together some of the most incredibly well researched, wonderful things about Israel, Palestine, settlements, occupation. And I said, that is terrific. And I hope that the Democrats, well, with the exception of Bobby Kennedy, but I hope that Joe Biden adopts what you're saying, because you are going to lose. Do you understand that? There was a time when being against the Vietnam War was weak. It was a World War II generation that came out of that came out of Korea, and they were not too sure about that. They wanted to win. And you had to read the way people thought that. Today, it would be obvious. Vietnam is wrong. But there was a time when it wasn't necessarily wrong. You've got to ask yourself, is what I'm saying a popular thing? And if it's not, don't say it. Okay? Don't say it. You think it'd be a good idea for people to go on and start talking about social credit scores? No, because you'll sound paranoid. Social credit scores. Remember, you never want to have any kind of issue that you have to explain to people. You don't want to have any kind of issue where if you tell people about this, if you tell them about this, they will say, what? And then you got to stop and explain it. Because remember something, Americans don't know anything. And young people, even worse. All I know is simply this. Bobby Kennedy seems to have hit a nerve, and he's scaring the Democrats to death. And I love that. I love that. I want to win this thing. I want to They're not going to be perfect. They're not going to be perfect. I've got an idiot friend who all he cares about are guns. Guns. That's it. I said, you've got two people. Well, Bobby Kennedy said that if he were given the right to say versus the Democrats, what are you going to suggest? You think you're going to win an election by telling people, I think open carry for everybody and no laws. No, what? You're going to lose. Well, that's what I'm right. Well, fine and be right, but you're going to lose. This is the thing I don't understand. Repeat after me. If you don't win, you're wasting your time. Now, what am I saying? Lie? Yeah. Keep it quiet. Get in and see how much of it you can change without losing your reelection. Because if they think you're a lame duck, you're dead. That's like so many of you wonderful people say, I want Trump to get back in office. He's a lame duck. What do you want to do? Well, I don't care. I just love him. I know you love him, but do you know how this works? No. By the way, Bobby Kennedy, does he ever talk about superdelegates? Does he ever talk about this whole system? No. This is the election part of it. The election part. This is the election part. This is the part where we have to ask ourselves how we get things done. Now, I don't know about you, but I want to win. And the first thing I want to do is destroy politically, legally, peacefully this version of whatever this nonsense is. I want them crushed. That simple. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want them crushed. Crushed. I want them to go away, to go bye-bye. That's what I want. Okay? That's what I'm saying. By the way, it's so funny today. Have you been hearing all this stuff about Who vapes here? Anyone? Stop vaping. Are you reading what's happening here? Are you seeing this? Vape tongue, popcorn lung? What is the matter with you? How about people who say, the same people who worry about lab meat or who worry about, oh, you and your vegetarian, I'm not going to eat bugs, but you're vaping? What? Do you know how? I mean, this is this thing. It's like we get into these, we wear these buttons and we don't think about it. It's like, what are you saying? What are you saying? I don't understand this. How about these PETA people? We got to worry about these dogs and the people in Ukraine. You eat animals. Well, that's different. What? I don't understand. I don't get people. I don't get them. They talk crap. They say things. And by the way, if you had to think about it, if we could go back in time, if you're going to smoke weed, go back to the days of the old days, 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where you grew this thing. It wasn't hybridized, whatever it was. And it actually had different potencies of THC. If that's what you want to do, that was better. This stuff that people are smoking up, this one smell. Do you not understand something? There's one smell. Reefer used to have different smells to it. There was a Christmas tree, almost a pine smell, and this smell, and that smell. It smelled kind of good. It reminded me of, oh, it's a concert. No, it's one smell, no biodiversity, with jam-packed with THC levels that nature never intended. And you're having kids who are taken to the hospital left and right because of psychotic delusions, and people are worried about Klaus Schwab, bugs, and lab meat. But that they're not worried about. They're not worried about the fact that kids are committing suicide smoking this stuff. They're not worried about the fact that they're getting popcorn lung and vaping tongue. They don't care about that. They worry about animals in Ukraine, stray dogs, but they're eating chickens and pigs and cows, living in the most disgusting of human beings. I don't understand this. You talk about moral relativism. We don't know what the hell we're talking about. So not to confuse and belabor the point. And by the way, I would never mention any of this if I was running for office. Never. Under any circumstance whatsoever. I want to win. Don't forget 3 topics, very simple. Maybe crime, children, the economy, something like that. That's it. Something simple. So the good news is, my friends, the Democrats are scared out of their mind. You got it? Good. All right. Watch Mrs. L and me last night. We were terrific. Don't forget to follow her. I want you to go right now to her YouTube channel at Lynn's Warriors. She is fantastic. Okay? Fantastic. All right, dear friends, you have a great and a glorious day. It was wonderful. Remember, we are winning this. We are winning. Good news. I'm telling you, we are winning. And I will see you again this evening at 7 p.m. Don't ever change. I mean that sincerely. We love you. We love you madly. You are the reason God made Oklahoma. Who's that from? You're the reason God made Oklahoma. Lefty Frizzell and Shelley West, I think, right? I get them in now. I get them. I'm gonna hire a wino to decorate our home. I make hard-boiled eggs for breakfast. So, anyway, that's country music. Hardcore. Webb Pierce. There stands the glass. Oh, God. Kitty Wells. Hardcore. Gut bucket. Ooh, it's, as Aretha Franklin would say, it's greasy. All right, friends, have a great and glorious day. We love you. See you tonight at 7 p.m. And don't forget, as we always end with this valedictory, this sayonara, this denouement, so to speak. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.